report. That was our political affairs reporter Mureme Mwangi coming to us all the way from our city centre studios. Now let's cross over to yet another developing story, and several Senate committees are today expected to choose their leadership, to pick their chairman and deputies. Now the elections held yesterday saw Homa Bay Senator Moses Kajwang clinch the chairmanship of the much important County Public Finance and Investment Committee. Now, senior parliamentary reporter Patrick Amimo is at the Parliament buildings and now joins me live from there. Patrick, good morning, and I'm sure there are new faces who have emerged today as well.
Good morning, Yusuf. In fact, today being the last day for the Senate to elect the chairpersons, vice chairpersons for the 5 remaining committees. This morning we just heard the Committee on Finance and Budget elect their chairperson, who is now Mandera Senator Mahmoud Maalim, and the vice chairperson will be nominated Senator Isaac Mwaura. And just joining me is the chairperson.
There is openness and accountability in terms of public finances, so that, public finances are used properly and soundly, and we will, of course, as a committee, ensure that there is openness and accountability in terms of public finances, so that, public finances are used properly and soundly and put to proper use. We will, of course, be oversighting the county, so that, monies that are allocated for public purposes actually used for that purpose. So we have a lot of work ahead of us. I would like to thank my members of the committee who elected me, and the issues ahead of us are very serious, very important for this country. In fact, during this period also, we are supposed to look at the formula for sharing of revenue between counties. Now we are doing the second formula is being used. We'll come for the third one. It's going to be very challenging, because the parameters that are being used now will have to be looked at. We will ensure that it is actually very equitable, so that all the counties actually get their share properly. So the task ahead of us is very enormous, and we in the committee are up to the task. And I thank the members for electing me as this committee. Thank you.
Talking about shareable revenue, it's been a contentious issue between the national government and vis-a-vis the county government. They've wanted always to have that shareable revenue increased from the constitutionally provided 15%. As a committee, how are we going to see this issue in the 12th Parliament maybe pan out?
In fact, at the beginning, CRA will of course come up with the indicator of how we are going to share the revenue between the 2 levels of government. It comes to Parliament. We in the Senate would like to look at the interests of the Senate properly, because the Senate is supposed to look at the interests of the counties, and without, of course, compromising the quality of work at the national level. We will reasonably and objectively look at those formulas and look at the whatever is proposed, so that both levels of government function properly without compromising the work at any given level of the government.
Looking at it, in the 11th Parliament, there was that rivalry between the Senate and the National Assembly when it came to shareable revenue. You could find that the Senate could come up maybe with an idea to increase the monies, but when it comes to the National Assembly, it shoots down that particular proposal, and maybe the matter ends up in a mediation committee where maybe nothing much happens. Are we likely going to witness similar scenarios in this 12th Parliament between the Senate and the National Assembly when it comes to shareable revenue?
You are right. There has been acrimony between the 2 houses in the last Parliament, the 11th Parliament. We expect this time this to be toned down, so that all of us are working for this country. The counties, the national government are our government. We would like to see what is objective, what actually works, what is possible, without trying to see who's mightier, which house is actually mightier, which house has got more power. The issue which should be guiding us is what is good for this country, so that the functions that are devolved and functions that are retained at the national government both are actually attended to and funded properly.
Thank you. That has been Mandera Senator, who is also the chairperson of the Finance and Budget Committee, Mohammed Maalim, just trying to share with us on what we expect for the Finance and Budget Committee. And just joining me is the vice chairperson of the committee, nominated Senator Isaac Mwaura. Senator Mwaura, looking at it, the issue of budget and finance, we've had the county governments want maybe more allocations, but then there's concern on how this money is utilized. As a committee, how will you ensure that there is value for money?
Thank you, Patrick. I really want to first thank God and also my Jubilee Party for having nominated me as a candidate for this position, and also all the senators from across the political divide who voted for me and the chair to give leadership to this committee. There is a challenge when it comes to the way counties are using monies, and the first challenge that is there is that counties are supplementing their allocation with the commercial loans. They are locally, and the last time we checked, there was over 40 billion, debt, and yet we still have pending bills. That's a very serious challenge. It reeks of corruption because they are not approved by the Treasury. So I don't know who is guaranteeing these loans. It's an issue that we need to look at. Number two, there is an issue of revenue raising measures because they are raising money, but they are spending the money at source. If, for example, you look at Kiambu County, the Office of the Controller Budget report of 2016-2017 is very clear. Over 400 million could not be accounted for when it was used at source in the election year. So you cannot, when you raise money, it first has to go to the account, the county account, before you can use it. But when you use it as source, it's very difficult because there are no receipts. You cannot track that money, and that is where the rubber is meeting the road. I think there is a lot of corruption, and these are some of the issues. But we in the Committee on Budget would want to see, number one, that we do not behave like morticians, where we only do this thing after. It has happened. We need to look at how we can be having, reviews, budget reviews, and also we have power in Article 216 of the Constitution that would ensure that we fail to approve a release of monies if at all whatever was released last was not properly accounted for. And I think this is important. The Budget Committee is very, very key. We also will be looking at, disability budgeting, how many and how much is the county governments giving to persons with disabilities, to women and the youth, because these are also marginalized groups of people. Because what we have seen is that counties have also not been very keen to ensure that they allocate resources to such groups of people.
Thank you so much, Senator Mwaura. Just sharing with us on how the Finance and Budget Committee will work to ensure that there is a proper scrutiny of the finances that are sent to county government, the 47 county governments across the country, to ensure that the money makes value to the Kenyan taxpayers. Yusuf.
Amibo, which other committees do we expect to choose their leadership today?
Yes, we still have other committees that will be carrying out the elections. We have the Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights Committee. We have the Committee on National Security. We have the Committee on Devolution. So those are some of the committees that are the remaining committees that we expect them to hold their elections by this afternoon. I think they'll be done with the elections, because committees for the Senate Constitution membership is of 9, and the elections are very, very fast, because 9 members, it only takes about 10 minutes to have at least to know who the chairperson is and the vice chairperson. Apart from that, we saw yesterday that at least there was concern from the NASA side, where they said that so far they've not clinched any position for the chairperson or vice chairperson. All positions have gone to Jubilee side, same for that oversight committee, which is the Senate County Public Accounts and Investments Committee. So there's concern that probably the opposition side is getting a raw deal from their colleagues, and there was a concern yesterday we saw from the Roads and Transport Committee, a section of the NASA senators walk out trying to express their fury, alleging that there was an influence from State House. So we'll be waiting to see whether these other committees will have at least membership or representation on that top leadership from the opposition, aside from that watchdog or oversight committee, which now is being headed by the Homa Bay Senator Moses Kajwang. Yusuf?
I think that will be very interesting, Amimo. And speaking about Moses Kajwang, of course, he was elected yesterday as the chairman of the all-important Public Accounts and Investment Committee. Of course, this is a position that has been assigned or left for the minority party, which is NASA. So in terms of political party representations, I mean, how does the leadership in the Senate look like? Who have more chairmen for various committees than the other?
As I did indicate, all the positions appear to be going to Jubilee, because it's only that committee that so far we have Moses Kajwang as the chairperson. But you notice that the vice chair is Meru Senator Mithika Linturi. So that is the only committee where at least, and maybe it's due to the standing orders which provide that the chairperson of that committee must come from the opposition or the minority party for this particular for this case. That's why I think there was that ceding of ground from the Jubilee side. Remember also when the National Assembly were carrying out the elections, there was also some issue surrounding that the Public Accounts Committee and the Public Investments Committee and that committee on implementation. These are oversight committees in the National Assembly, which then it was automatic that we saw these particular committees now were headed by those NASA members of Parliament. But for the other in the National Assembly, the other committees that aside from the oversight committees, all were taken by the Jubilee side. So it's something that we've seen the Jubilee party flex its muscles and say that they want to retain all positions when it comes to House Committee leadership in both in the National Assembly and the Senate. But as I did indicate, we'll be watching to see whether the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee or these other remaining committees will have chairs from the opposition, because in the 11th Parliament, Busia Senator Amos Wako was the chair of the Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights Committee. He's a person of immense wealth, knowledge in matters legal and human rights, and we'll be keen to see whether this time round that particular docket will go to the opposition or it will be clinched by Jubilee. That, as I did indicate, is a matter of wait and see as the committees get into session to elect the chairs and vice chair for those various positions.
Of course, we'll wait and see. Thank you very much.